Okay, and we are live, and we have some people arriving already. Welcome Valeria and Jasmine Green and Moonchild and everybody else. As I said, as both me and Norbert said, this is sure to be a juicy podcast right here, right?
Yep, should be.
Yes. Yeah. So, so this is an idea that Norbert himself inspired, in that we touch upon the subject of how animation companies sometimes make some questionable decisions. But before we get into that, how about I reintroduce my two special guests to those who are unfamiliar. I'll start with you, Norbert,
Hey there.
and comment return is also Clovis, aka TwistedDanns. Say hi.
Hello, I like Billy and Mandy more than anyone else.
Yes. And if you haven't already, you can check out the stream that I have with Clovis before, where we're talking about Billy and Mandy on its 20th anniversary.
Yeah, it was a fun stream.
Yes. Okay, so yes, I think it's about time we start our discussion, and just a little reminder that this is going to be a kind of a controversial subject that we'll be dealing with, like with animation network politics and so forth. But we'll try to keep things civil. I also recommend people in the chat section to be respectful of each other's opinions as well, and not fight each other like rabid dogs. And just all three of us here keep things light, but also a bit of that controversial, gossipy edge, and overall just have fun. Is everybody agreeing on that? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. I promise I'm
That's
not gonna say.
cool.
I promise I won't say anything about. I won't say anything about Trump here. So
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll try to keep things civil.
okay,
yeah.
that's great. So, oh, hang on a second. Okay. Oh, I just thought that I just noticed that your footage kind of went big, Norbert, but it went back to normal size.
Oh,
Okay. So yeah, since you were the one who inspired this idea, Norbert, and you've already given some ideas of what you want to discuss on this podcast, like Nickelodeon prematurely canceling shows, and if business should be a first priority over creativity. So how about you elaborate on what you have to say on those?
certainly. So I mean, network politics. That that's a very big. That's a very big, complex topic, and it's obviously hard to kind of summarize everything in a little bit. But I've spoken about my thoughts on kind of network politics quite a bit in the past, both on YouTube and on Twitter. Mainly on Twitter. I don't upload on YouTube that often, but last August, this August, a couple months ago, I actually made a video about why networks screw over shows, and I did that because that was around the time when the news about the rise of the TMNT canceling, and I figured I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it. And kind of talk about why I kind of go against the wave a little bit against the tide a little bit when it comes to the general reactions when it comes to how people in the cartoon community react whenever incidents like this happen to break out. I don't. A lot of people in the cartoon community tend to be side more with the creative aspects of animation networks and the business sides. I mean, obviously, the creative side is what people actually physically see. That's the shows. That's the creative side, and then that's what they see physically, and that's what they're interested in. So it kind of makes sense that they would kind of side more with that side because that's their bias. But a lot of people seem to forget that at the end of the day, networks are businesses, and the point of any business is to make money. And the creative side of animation networks, like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, etc., that's only half of the That's only half of the network. The other half is the business side, and that's run by the executives and everything like that.
Right.
Um, um, Now that being said, though, I'm not sure if maybe it's just my affinity for Nickelodeon. Maybe it's the fact that I come from a fairly conservative household. But I don't tend to, I get as vocally angry or upset whenever incidents like the rise of Team D cancellation or things I tend to be a bit more mellow. It's not like I don't care about those things. It's not like I don't think those are bad things. I mean, obviously it's bad that people are getting screwed over, but I tend to kind of expect a little more, and I tend to kind of let things go a little bit easier, because one, I've kind of come to expect that this kind of thing is inevitable when it comes to networks. I mean, it's kind of impossible for it not to happen. I mean, every single show kind of has scrutiny on some level. It's there's no such I believe there's no such thing as a fully 100% creator-driven show if it's on a TV network or a streaming service. Any show that's ever aired on Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Netflix, etc., there was some executive behind-the-scenes thing that happened that we don't know about. It's impossible for things to be 100% totally creator-driven because, again, business is an important part of the business, and you don't see money, otherwise they won't survive. So I guess I just tend to be a little more, and I'll explain my thoughts a little more about why I tend to be like this a little more. I kind of talked about it in my Why Networks Grow Over Shows video, but I tend to be a little more not as angry as the rest of everyone else tends to be about, still getting screwed over. And I think I've talked enough. I'm gonna think I'll Clovis say his thoughts, but I'll explain more later. But yes, that's basically my own thoughts.
Okay. So, what do you have to say about this, Clovis, about this subject?
Okay. I guess before I
Super
start,
chat. Ultimate Dominator just gave you 199, DJ.
Oh,
by the
awesome.
way,
Thank you.
I think I was the one that summoned him unintentionally. But anyway, before I start, I'd like to say that I unfortunately can't offer any opinion related to politics because I live in Portugal, so a lot of the American politics don't really have anything to do with me. So sorry if I have nothing to input here. But anyway, I
That's
don't
okay.
entirely disagree with Norbert, but I also think that whether or not someone cares about certain business decisions or not mostly comes from. You did say that we tend to get outraged because of which perspective we're coming from, and that is true. But I also don't necessarily think that that's a detriment depending on the type of conversation we're having. For example, when I upload videos, I don't always make this clear, but I try to say that most of what I have to say entirely comes from the perspective of a fan. I don't necessarily share every single opinion I have on a show or a certain business practice, and the reason why I don't do that is because that's just not really something that I'm particularly interested in covering. But it's not necessarily because I think that there isn't anything to talk about. For example, I see a lot of business decisions in networks like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and some of them, on some level, I can actually understand. I guess it helps that I actually have a bit of experience with studying business, economics, and stuff. So a lot of what they do, on some level, like kind of inspires me to think about what they're doing. And I could, in theory, like maybe break down whether or not what they're doing is profitable or not. But the reason why I don't do that is because when I watch cartoons, I'm mostly coming from the perspective of a consumer. So a lot of what I care comes essentially boils down to whether or not I think they're treating the creator well or not. Because in my usually I have a better experience with a cartoon if the creator, maybe not so much given all creative freedom, but at the very least have enough freedom to express what they want in a way that can create a quality work, because that's usually what I like. I like when creators do what they can to create the best product, and there are cases when executives can intervene and eventually
And on the super
see a
chat,
bunch of
DJ
compromises.
Oh, what was that?
Moonchild, I am wank, and just give you $3.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Moonchild. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
continue,
Canadian
Clovis.
dollars. Yeah. Anyway, and so I think it would be interesting if we saw more people discussing the business side of these networks, but I don't necessarily think that how people tend to react is necessarily wrong. I think it's just. I mean, I don't. I mean, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure how these people think whenever they see stuff like that. Like, I don't know what the exact emotional reaction that they're having, but at least for me, I kind of. I guess this is something that can be a little bit difficult to tell, but I don't care about what happens as much as I make it out to be. Because I mean, usually I kind of just don't care when I see a bad news, like for example, a cartoon gets canceled because it didn't get enough views. I'm like, oh well, that sucks. But then I kind of move on, and I might vent online, but that's because it's a platform that allows me to do so. But I don't really get that mad, and I don't know if anyone else is like that too. But regardless, I think that it can be valuable to share these dissatisfactions, is what I have to say.
That's cool. As for me, when I see a cartoon that I like get canceled, at worst I'll be like, sorry, at worst I'll be like, well, yeah, like what you said, Clovis. Well, that sucks, but easily I could move on from it, just like what you would. Also, what you two have been saying about creator-driven cartoons not being 100% creator-driven, it's kind of like having a nice signy contract given to you saying, "Hey, you want to create a." Oh, hang on. Oh, just saw Norbert's footage just went big and small again. But yeah, yeah, a career-driven cartoons, it's like you're given a contract and it says, hey, you want to make the cartoon that you want to make? Excellent. Just sign here, and also the fine print says that we have to butt in to make our usual executive meddling decisions. That's essentially the idea I have.
I mean, and that is kind of the case. I mean, for almost all shows on a network, the network owns the show, not the creator. It's very, very rare that a creator ever owns the rights to their shows. Like, Billy and Mandy is not owned by Maxwell Adams. Cartoon Network owns it.
Right.
So if Maxwell Adams wants to do anything new with Billy and Mandy, he needs to ask Cartoon Network. Um, it's the only case I really know of a creator like owning the rights to their own shows is Greg, aka Paparina. He mentioned this on Nick at 40, Part 3. That was a podcast that me and Zara Lovner was on. Zara Lovner was also another guest that DJ's had on the live streams before. But Greg mentioned that Nickelodeon doesn't own the secret rights doesn't own the rights to the Secret World of Alex Mack anymore. Thomas W. Lynch's company does. So Thomas Lynch actually owns the rights to his own show that aired on Nickelodeon. So, but that's a very, very rare example. It's incredibly rare that a creator ever does own the rights to their show. I mean, it's basically they either have to go independent or they have to give their show, lose complete rights, and give it over to a network, and in turn get money and funding from the network to get their creator well known. So it's either go independent or lose rights to it entirely, but get the funding to do it. So there really is no way to ensure that it absolutely will be successful and absolutely go your way. It's kind of it either has to you either do it all yourself, or you can help, but you have to lose the rights to it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Also, there's something else I want to add is that if I'm not mistaken, when you sell your show to a network, you do lose your rights. Although the network is contractually obligated to, whenever they, let's say, make a reboot or something like that, they are contractually obligated to ask the original creator to if he wants to work on it or not. And I think that's one of the few you could say rights that they have. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure when it comes to royalties. I think that depends on the
Yeah, that's
contract
kind
that
of
they
like
sign.
By the way, I just want to address a couple of chat questions here.
right.
Valerie Pabon, actually, Chris Riccardi, and Lynn Naylor created the modifiers. It wasn't Robert Zetti who created Bios the Teenage Robot. Rest in peace, Chris Riccardi.
Right.
Also, Dexter the Nostalgia Toonster. I don't really have a favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I'm not really that into Hanna-Barbera. I guess by default, I'll say Dexter's Laboratory because that's the one I've really seen the most of, and I'm not really that into like the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Flintstones or Jetsons. So it's not a very good answer.
Yeah, I perhaps have the same opinion as you, Norbert. Dexter is my favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon, technically speaking. Okay, go back to what you're saying, Clovis.
My favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon is the pilot for Billy and Mandy. But anyway, yeah, I think the point I was trying to make is that, I mean, I guess I think this is just has more to do with the way things are run, which I would argue is not the most optimal. Now, that's not to say that I don't think that the creators aren't at least partially responsible for signing contracts that eventually kind of screw them over when it comes to how much they own. But I would argue that it would be for the better if this wasn't the case. Because, I mean, I don't know. Like, think of, for example, I don't remember the name of the show, but the creator of Invader Zim once
Jonah
made
Vasquez.
made a pilot for a cartoon that I don't really remember the name.
Right.
And Disney currently owns it, but they have no intentions of making anything out of it. So
That's also that's the same with Constant Pain too. Nickelodeon owns the rights to Constant Pain pilot. On Micro Right can't do anything about it, so that's a shame.
yeah. And I think also the same thing happened with Making Fiends, although I've heard conflicting information, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, like,
I believe the Nickelodeon owns rights to Making Fiends instead of Amy Winfrey, so she can't make anything else out of Making Fiends anymore.
Yeah.
Although I think she can still upload the episodes on her YouTube channel, and there was even this one time I saw this like weird parody of it. So I guess it's a little bit vague there. But anyway, I'm sure Nickelodeon owns the entire rights to it, and I kind of think that's a like bad thing. Like because of situations like these where the creators can't really do anything with the property anymore, and the networks don't really want to do anything with it. So I think that kind of sharing your dissatisfaction with that kind of stuff is important.
Well, I think the reason why they wouldn't sell the rights back to the creator is probably because maybe they'll decide one day far in the future that they do want to do something with it after all, and then they can't hold the rights to it, so they want to hold on to the rights just in case they do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true, but again, like cases like these,
I know there are some shows where the rights are kind of iffy. I kind of spoke about this on Twitter a little while ago, but Nickelodeon apparently doesn't own 100% of the Angry Beavers.
Really?
Micah Wright mentioned that to me on Twitter. I'm not really sure who owns the rest of the rights. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if Gunther Wall Productions is still in production, and Lee Gunther and Michael Wall are both dead now. So I'm not sure if their widowed wives or their kids own some rights to the Angry Beavers. The whole show was recently put on CBS All Access. That's a streaming service that the Viacom has. Although Micah said that they could be betting that Nickelodeon could be betting on the fact that that Nickelodeon is hoping that they don't notice, and then they'll have to take it down eventually because maybe Lee Gunther's widowed wife will see that on there and try to sue them for it or something, or maybe they did work something out and we don't know. But there are some shows where, for the most part, the network usually always owns the full rights to the shows, but there are some shows that are kind of in the gray area, like Alex Mack or the Angry Beavers or Making Fiends, or some shows that are kind of in the middle. But usually, in general, the creator owns the rights to the show.
Right.
The network owns the rights to the show.
I actually wanted to give another example. There's this. I'm sure you guys already know Bandai Namco, that the video game publisher. So I don't know how it is today, but I remember a couple of years ago there was this thing where they were obligated, whenever they would get a license to make games based on a certain series, like let's say Dragon Ball, they were always obligated to release one game per year, if I'm not mistaken. And whenever they didn't do that, they would lose the rights to it. Like it eventually, like the rights they had to making Dragon Ball games would get expired. And I think that if we saw something like that with cartoons, that would actually be good. I think it would be really good if there were, maybe not necessarily 1 year, but some some limit, like some amount of years before they eventually lose the rights to the creator. Just so at the very least, the original creators can do something with it and not just kind of let it in the I don't know, this wherever they
Dexter just brought up Doug, and I believe that Nickelodeon still owns rights to Nickelodeon Doug, but Disney owns rights to Disney's Doug. But Disney has the rights to do anything in the future with Doug. So that's another cartoon that kind of lies in the gray area of who owns it.
Yeah, if Jim Jenkins were to do something new with Doug, like I think he'd have to choose with either the Nickelodeon incarnation or continue on with the Disney one, or either way he'd have to go to Disney for permission.
Yeah, he'd have to go to Disney first because even though Nickelodeon still owns their version of Doug, Disney owns their version of Doug too, and they own the rights to do anything in the future with Doug. So if Jim Jenkins wants to revive Doug, he has to go to Disney. And I'm not sure if he would go back to Nickelodeon or if he would keep the revival on Disney. It's kind of unclear. Although Doug was not Doug is not the most fondly looked back on Nickelodeon shows, so I don't think that's going to be revived anytime soon.
Right. Although it has a better reputation than Pelswick, right?
Oh, better representation? Like, you mean like
I'm
everyone
sorry, reputation. Sorry, reputation. Like, it's more well-liked.
Okay, yeah. Also, yeah, it's more well-liked, I guess, than Pelswick.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the creator of Pelswick is also of a very dark humor.
Yeah. And
R.I.P. John Callahan.
right. And the cartoons that the Nicktoons that Nelvana produced for Nickelodeon, they sort of lie in the gray area in which Nick promoted them as Nicktoons. They promoted Pelswick and Wayside as Nicktoons, but then after they lost the rights, they fell completely out of obscurity in their library of both fully original and acquired animation programs.
I think that there might also be some scrutiny when it comes to different countries owning the shows because they're different companies. I believe that Nelvana actually owns partial rights to the Fairly Odd Parents in Canada.
Yeah, they distribute that show pretty much everywhere outside of the U.S. Well, at least the first 5 seasons.
Before poof.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything else you want to add, Clovis, about what we just said?
I think that was all I really had to say.
Okay, so Norbert, I want to ask you. I wonder if you want to talk about what happened to a certain Nickelodeon pilot that you're a fan of. One that's accent themed. I think you know which one that is.
Oh, concept. Oh, yeah. Oh man. I mean, Micah Wright was the guy who exposed Seema Zargami.
Right.
He's definitely got a better. He's definitely very bitter at Nickelodeon, mostly because he's been blacklisted from the animation industry now, and I don't remember the full story. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen that story. Ever since it's been at least a couple of years since his Facebook post went viral. But from what I can remember, he doesn't. I believe Nickelodeon still owns rights to Constant Pain, and he and Micah Wright can't do anything with it.
Right.
And apparently, to get the, from what I heard, I don't remember what the numbers exactly, but apparently he said that in order to get the full rights to Constant Pain back, he has to pay like $300,000 and half of his salary forever to get the pilot back. $300K and half of his salary forever to get his pilot back from 2001.
Wow.
Wow, that is nuts. That is Micah Wright got screwed over hard. C.H. Greenblatt, C.H. Greenblatt did get screwed over with Harvey Beaks, but he did himself lucky. He didn't get blacklisted unlike Micah Wright did.
Yeah.
And speaking of C.H. Greenblatt, I also kind of wanted to talk about something that I like to call the Greenblatt effect.
Oh yeah.
Hang on, before you talk, I just wanted to answer a question. Someone asked if the same thing happens with anime. From what I'm aware, it does seem like the creators have a little more control over what happens, but I'm not entirely sure what are the limits. For instance, from what I'm aware, at least, I don't know if this is actually true, but Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, whenever Shueisha and Toei wants to do something, wants to take Dragon Ball to whatever direction they want, they always have to consult him. That's why he always has some notes that he delivers to the writers so that they can kind of make what they want whenever they write the stories. But I don't know if they have full creative control over what happens with the properties, but it does kind of seem like they have more than Western cartoons. So I don't know, make of that what you will. But anyway, what were you saying?
I don't really know much about anime. My forte is Western cartoons.
Me too.
And Avatar: The Last Airbender is not an anime, so yeah, sorry, I can't speak on that. But like I was saying, the Greenblatt effect is basically a term that I coined. It's basically a term that I like to use whenever someone like sees something bad happen, and like they have a very strong resentment towards that, and they basically take the opposite stance or the opposite extreme of that. It usually happens in politics. Like I don't want to get too political here, but people becoming more conservative and militaristic after 9/11 in order to curb counterterrorism, or even like in social issues, like people becoming men's rights activists because of hardcore feminists, or people becoming carnivores because of hardcore vegans. It happens in cartoons as well. The reason I call it the Greenblatt effect is because C.H. Greenblatt, he really did make a lot of people kind of have that mindset when it came to once Harvey Beaks was getting screwed over. People saw his show getting screwed over, and they had resentment towards that. It was really bad that his show got screwed over, and then they took the opposite extreme of that happening, which is that creators should have full creative control, and that networks shouldn't do this. Executives should stay out of the way. They basically saw like one example of really bad executive meddling, and they took the opposite stance. So that's the Greenblatt effect.
Hang on, I want to know what exactly do you mean by opposite stance?
Well, in the case of in the kind of dichotomy of creatives versus business, as people saw the bad business, so then they took the creative side, and then for anything else, conservatism versus militarism versus pacifism. People took militarism after 9/11, or being a vegan versus being a meat eater. People. People when they see like those really annoying vegans, the ones who like shame you if you own anything that has leather,
Norbert?
or you eat anything. Yeah.
Just a reminder to kind of tone down on the political talk, if you don't mind.
Sorry. Again,
yeah, but it's okay. I think I understand what it is now.
Or being a carnivore. I'm gonna spite for that. So I think the thing about people. The opposite stance of business in the animation is the same. People see like a really bad business executive meddling thing, like what happened with Harvey Beaks and C.H. Greenblatt. The opposite of that would be people being very pro creativity and very anti business and anti corporation. So that's what I mean by the opposite stance of that.
Okay, so I think I understand what you mean. Although I do have to kind of disagree, because I don't think that many cartoon fans think that hard about valuing creativity more than the business. People more so are very quick to be sympathetic whenever they see creators kind of getting screwed over. But I think that in the end, I don't think that many people are even aware of how many business interventions are even made whenever a cartoon gets greenlit.
That's a good point.
I also think that when it comes to C.H. Greenblatt and taking the extreme side, I think that this has more so to do with the fact that it's basically what I said at the beginning, where people usually appreciate cartoons more, or more so enjoy them more, when they get the feeling that the creators are doing what they want. Because business decisions, they're a lot of the times like sort of like business interventions, they're mostly made for marketing. And I think that in some cases it can help the show getting more successful, but in other cases it can also kind of ruin it, because either the networks misinterpreted the market that they were trying to read, or maybe they interpreted well and they made it successful, but they didn't necessarily put that much effort to make it actually good. They just put enough effort so that people can continue to consume it for however long they can. And then this is kind of where a lot of people are coming from when they're sort of against business decisions. They just more so don't want bad business decisions. And
well, the thing is, there's no bad is subjective. So what is a quote unquote bad business decision? I mean, you yourself brought up that sometimes it can help the show. I mean, yeah, it can. Like, how do you think the Loud House would be successful if Chris Savino had his way and it was actually about rabbits instead of humans? Do you think Avatar: The Last Airbender? Do you think that show? Do you think Avatar would have been as successful if Katara was the main character instead of Aang? Like, those were executive decisions. Those were executive decisions that the creators took. So, I mean, at some point it can help the show, and sometimes it can make them better. So, the thing is, I mean, the problem is that you can't really have it like only one way. You have to either like accept you have to kind of accept the good with the bad. Like there's no such it's not really possible to like have only the good business decisions. Like there have to be both good and bad business decisions. Like it's not really possible to only like have only good business decisions because again, good is subjective, and again, different executives are going to have different ideas. Different executives are going to have different mindsets on like what should be what will be profitable. So it's not really possible to only have good business decisions.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think that I think that whether or not we define something as good or bad business decisions mostly depends on which perspective you're coming from. For example, I like to consider usually like in conversations that don't have necessarily to do with cartoons and stuff. I usually consider good business decision when someone makes a certain decision that requires the least amount of expenditure and the most gain that they can. That's what I consider good business decision. When it comes to cartoons, when it comes to discussion of stuff that we like, usually people consider bad business decisions something that negatively affects the quality of the series, or also when they make decisions that kind of screw over the creators. Now that's usually that since in this context we're specifically talking about cartoons and their quality. That's how I define bad business decision. And in the case of you saying that sometimes they can be good, that is true, and it is true that it's mostly subjective. But I also think that generally speaking, when we discuss these kind of things, we are coming from a subjective viewpoint, and I think that we have to, on some level, have the self-awareness that we don't really know what's best for everyone. We can only really speak on behalf of what we think is best for, well, I guess maybe not necessarily everyone, more so themselves from their perspective. Some people might speak on behalf of others when it comes to whether or not something is a good or bad decision. I, for the most part, try to speak on behalf of me, but you never know how other people will approach these conversations.
Can I ask you a question, Clovis?
Yeah.
So you said that too much executive meddling can harm a show, and you're right, it can. Do you believe that too much creative freedom can harm a show too?
Do I think that it can harm? I mean, I guess if the creator is incompetent, then sure. I mean, usually
I mentioned this before, but there are network regulations and standards do exist for a reason. I mean, if a person was given complete creative freedom, was allowed to do literally anything, absolutely anything, whatever, they could create a show that has so much blood, gore, child porn, has every single racial slur that exists.
Norb.
Yeah.
Don't say that word. CP, like we need to keep things PG rated here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But my point is that if you let a creator have absolute creative freedom and let them do literally anything, no matter what, absolutely anything, then you get things like Where the Dead Go to Die. And obviously there are some things that are illegal for a reason. That word, which DJ told me not to say, that's illegal, obviously. Something that advocates murder or pedophilia or something, those are obviously things that nobody wants.
Don't say
those are things.
Yeah, be careful with your words, Norbert. You need to keep things.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But my point is that there have to be limits on creative freedom so that things like that don't happen. So because if a creator is given complete creative freedom, and if they're really if they're just a really mean person, they could create a show that has things like that nobody wants.
Okay, so this is a bit of a complicated issue in the sense that I guess for Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, I wouldn't want to give. I mean, if I was, let's say, if I was working on those networks, I wouldn't necessarily want to give full creative freedom because a part of me would worry about the reputation of the company, and also I
They are
would
kids
worry
networks,
about
and they have to be
yeah
shows that appeals to kids,
yeah
obviously.
true. True. And I would also care about I would care about both the reputation and also the marketability of these cartoons. So that might be true. Although when I'm I guess, but if we're talking from the perspective of a consumer, I personally don't really I don't really see having full creative freedom as necessarily a bad thing. I think the worst it could happen is that some stuff will become more niche, but I think that there is value to being in a market full of niche media. And it really just it's a matter of each consumer finding their own niche, finding their own finding the stuff that they care, and sort of sticking with that instead of trying to consume everything. You know what I mean? And again, like this is not me really speaking from the perspective of the executives. I understand why they would intervene in certain things, but speaking as a consumer, I don't really mind full creative freedom. And I mean, think of YouTube, for example. I think that not all of them, but a lot of YouTube channels, you could argue have full creative freedom. There are times when I mean, basically, we basically have no like executive meddling. The worst we have is perhaps like following community guidelines, but other than that, we pretty much have like almost full creative freedom on what we
Logan
can
Paul's
do.
hanging forest video, was that creative freedom? Was that total creative freedom?
What video?
Was Logan Paul's hanging forest, like the suicide, was that video total creative freedom?
It depends on the
Uh,
creator, of
I don't
course.
think you bring that
I
up
wasn't
either.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily saying that all of them are, but a lot of them are. Like, think of, for example, that YouTube channel that has like 14 subscribers. Like, that channel has no executive meddling. They're just doing what they want. And yeah, very likely that channel is not going to be for everyone. And I don't expect it to be, but someone will. Someone will enjoy it. And I think that that's valuable in and of itself. Is it the most is it the best business decision that you can make in terms of how much it benefits you financially? Probably not. But again, like I think that there is value in that, and um, I also think that finding a balance between making something marketable and making something you could say avant-garde. I think that finding that type of balance is actually a good way of profiting off of the stuff you create. But I mean, some creators don't really care. Some people are just doing it because they just feel like it. And to those people, I have nothing against them. I think they can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. That discussion, certainly we got some stuff past the radar there. So how about we move on to something that's slightly wider hearted, which is talking about how these days, especially with the decline of cable and with the lockdown happening, what's your opinion
See you,
on
Dexter.
cartoons? Oh, okay. Yeah. What's your opinion on cartoons moving from cable to primarily being on streaming services?
I actually don't mind it. I actually think, I mean, more people are watching the internet than cable TV. So I mean, moving shows to where more people are is kind of the better fit.
Yeah.
Although I would prefer if they it decided from it was decided from the beginning that they were going to be on there. When it comes to Nickelodeon, like Pinky Malinky and Glitch Text and Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling and Invaders and Enter the Vorpus. Those were all intended to be aired on Nickelodeon. It wasn't decided that they were going to be going to Netflix until quite a bit later. It should have been decided they're going to Netflix a lot sooner, or they should have aired on Nickelodeon. But that way there wouldn't have been such a big delay, and Glitch Text would not currently be in limbo. Hashtag we new Glitch Text, get that trending on Twitter. I do think that putting some shows on streaming services is good because that can promote your shows more because that's where more people are. But but if you're gonna put a show on a streaming service, it should have been decided from the very beginning that it was going there. You shouldn't decide that. It shouldn't. I don't like it when like it's going. It was originally meant for TV, but then let's put it on Netflix instead. Like you should decide that from the beginning.
Yeah. What do
Yeah,
you have?
I kind of agree on some level. I mean, I don't watch cable, so I definitely prefer streaming services. I guess in terms of affecting the cartoons themselves, I guess it depends on how many rules they enforce. Like for example, a lot of Netflix, not I guess mostly originals, they tend to be like 12 to 13. Well, it used to be like that, 12 to 13 episodes long. I think now they're kind of changing. Like I've seen some that kind of get split in half, and you kind of have like the first half of a season like seven episodes long and something like that. So I hope that's because that was the amount of like episodes that the people working on it wanted to release, and they needed
I got
another.
a super chat, DJ.
Oh, awesome.
Moonchild,
Thank you.
I am who I am. Just sent you 99 Canadian cents.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's
Okay, continue,
cool.
Clovis.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess what I was trying to say is that I have a few concerns when it comes to, because one of the biggest problems I've always had with cable TV has to do with the amount of episodes that they tend to order, because of the fact that they have like weekly releases, and they kind of expect certain shows to air at a certain slot weekly. I mean, with cartoons, it's a bit more complicated because schedules tend to be a lot more inconsistent than when you compare to Western dramas and stuff. But that's generally how it tends to be. And when you order like a lot of episodes and stuff like that, eventually it gets to the point where some of the episodes don't really feel all that inspired, and kind of feels like they're scrounging around just to find ideas and stuff. And this can happen even to the best cartoons, which is a shame. And if Netflix can prevent that kind of stuff, that would be nice. Although Netflix does also seem to have its fair share of demands for how many episodes per season. I don't know how much of that is going to affect the quality, or how much, in terms of how much it will affect the environment. But if it's for the better, then I'm open.
I mean, Netflix has executive meddling too. It's not just exclusive to cable TV. Every network or streaming service has executive meddling to some extent.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, people like to say that pitchers to Netflix because they offer more creative freedom. Well, even that creative freedom is somewhat limited because they have executive meddling too. All right, it's just they offer more creative freedom, and those stories that don't
Right.
come out as often as any scummy stories regarding Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. So it's just that we don't hear about them as often.
I have a confession. I don't actually like Netflix.
You
Really?
don't? Why not?
No,
Oh.
not really. To be fair, it's mostly because of the ratio of content that interests me and doesn't. And I don't. There are some things I like, but there are some things I don't really care about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So DJ, do you have a?
Oh, I just want to say that when we're close to being done with the discussion, that I will answer some of the comments and questions that we haven't gone to yet.
Okay.
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 I mean, okay. Do you have anything else you want to discuss, Clovis?
For now, no.
I actually have another point I want to bring up. It's about the whole question of like how much should businesses focus primarily on should TV networks primarily focus on creativity, or is money more important because that's what a business is meant to do?
Oh. Well. I mean, if I was working in one of these companies, I don't think I would necessarily want to only focus on creativity. Although I do like to think of myself as someone who would, because I don't know if any of you have seen this series, this anime called Azaken, where
I
you
haven't
have
seen
like
it.
three. Oh, okay. But basically, like there are like these three characters. Two of them are animators, while the other one, she's basically like like she's basically their manager. Like that's pretty much they're all in high school, of course, but she's like basically their manager and stuff because they have like a school club for making animation and stuff, and she's basically the one that's always pushing both of them to making the most realistic, basically creating the most realistic final products because they tend to demand a lot of like really pushy, like really taxing stuff that will require way too much time than they have to, in order to submit the stuff to the school. And so she always has to suggest a few shortcuts, for example, like a few animation shortcuts that can kind of do in some ways compromise the quality. But it's something that she has to do, otherwise they're not going to get anything done. But at the end of the day, she does try her best to not force them to do something that they're not satisfied. She just tries to find some amount of balance that they can kind of work with. And I like to think of myself as someone who would do stuff like that if I was in a similar position as she was. So, and I would hope that that's how a lot of executives act as well. But unfortunately, when it comes to big companies, is that a lot of the times the people working on them aren't always people who are interested in making the best thing out there. They're kind of just working there because they saw an opportunity to make money. So I definitely don't expect all of them to have that mentality, but that's my ideal.
You also have to remember that people in the cartoon community are just regular Joes. Like, we're not the business executives here. Do you think it's best to leave? Do you think it's best to leave these decisions up to the business executives and say, and like whatever bad business decision happens, do you think it's just it's fair to say, oh, it's probably some business logic that we don't understand that's actually benefiting them, or do you think it's best to jump to the conclusion that it was an intention that had bad intentions and they were intentionally trying to screw someone over?
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters which conclusion people make because it's not really going to change anything. I think the only thing we can really do is sort of voice our opinions, like express what we like and what we don't like. Whether or not the executives themselves are going to listen to us is completely up to them. But I do think it's important for us to share what are our priorities, and they can, at the very least, take that into consideration. Whether or not they're actually going to listen to us is completely up to them. And I think that for us, we don't really have any power to do anything to them. So
probably not. We'll spam backlash online. It's just a vocal minority. I mean, I'm 21. I'm way too old for Nickelodeon, so it's unlikely that some Nickelodeon executive. It's unlikely that they're going to listen to me.
It is true, although you never know. Like maybe if enough people show demand for something, they might see potential for profits. So I don't discourage people from expressing what they want, but I also think that people should be on some level aware that whatever they say probably doesn't really mean much. It's not actually going to affect people. So that's why I kind of don't really care which conclusion people reach. It only really bothers me when people spread misinformation. But, if people want to say that Nickelodeon are evil and whatever, I honestly don't care.
I also think part of this comes down as to how much you believe in capitalism versus socialism. If you're a complete last if you're a capitalist, then you might say, well, they're businesses, just let them do whatever they want. If they want to screw over shows, then that's on them. If you tend to lean more towards a regulated economy or socialism, you might want to step in and say, no, they should be more altruistic. They should do things more for creativity instead of money, and do things other than just trying to make a profit. And I think most people in the cartoon community fall into that latter category.
That's possible. Although I also don't think that people don't really think about that all that much. So I don't know how much of that really holds value.
Okay. If I have to bring up something, so what you guys are saying regarding how business is over creativity, I just want to throw in how that applies to how networks would rather reboot something from their past than to greenlight an entirely new series.
Or create a spin-off, like Camp Coral.
Yeah.
And actually, that kind of brings into another topic I kind of want to bring about the morality of posthumous cartoon projects, things like Camp Coral. But if you want to talk about reboots first, reboots. Again, networks own the rights to these properties, so they can decide if they want to reboot them. If they if Cartoon Network wants to reboot Power Girls without Crep Kraken, they can, and they did. And Power Girls 2016 happened, and it was horribly received.
Yeah.
Um,
And just
they do have the rights to do this, but I think people will also think that there should be some intervention on the side of the creator, that they should always be involved, or they should always have input, or that kind of thing.
okay.
But I think it also kind of raises an interesting question whenever the creator is either dead or out of the picture, like in the case of Camp Coral. There's this whole controversy of whether or not Steven really knew about Camp Coral, or whether or not he would have approved of it or not. But it raises the question of are posthumous cartoon projects like Camp Coral, are these moral? Are these should these not have been made? Because if Steven was against it, should this not have been done? And then if the answer is no, then how do we know that Hanna and Barbera? How do we know they wouldn't have been okay with whatever there was happening of the Flintstones or Jetsons was? Should those shows be immune from being rebooted because the creators are dead, or same with the Looney Tunes, or with Scooby Doo? The creators of Scooby Doo's both recently died recently, so we stop rebooting Scooby Doo. So if Camp Coral is no because Steven is dead, can the same be said for any other property like the Looney Tunes or Flintstones or Jetsons or Scooby Doo where the creator's dead?
Right.
Well, I don't actually want Scooby-Doo to be rebooted, but I don't know. I am someone who doesn't really like readaptations in general, so I'm always gonna be more. To me, I don't really care if the creator is dead or not. To be honest, my only real concern is them readapting something that doesn't really need to be. So.
Well, it's impossible to know for sure what some creators what they would have thought. So should we stay on the safe side and not do it just in case they weren't okay with it? And if that's the case, does that mean that we shouldn't adapt any more Shakespeare plays into movies? Because maybe he was a purist, and maybe he thinks that Hamlet should stay a play, or Romeo and Juliet should stay a play, and it should never be put into screen. He's long dead, and he certainly didn't know about film because that was long after he died. So maybe he wouldn't have been okay with it. So, but should we put words in his mouth and that? And I think that kind of mirrors the whole Camp Coral thing.
Right. Okay. You mind if we
sorry?
You mind if we kind of move on to a different subject?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what else do you want to talk about? We talked about how business is kind of over creativity. We talked about how sometimes the networks have the full rights to a creation, and sometimes the creators do, and all kinds of stuff. Anything else you want to bring to the table before we wrap up and move on to some of the viewer questions?
I mentioned before about the whole thing about we don't know what's really going on because we're viewers, or we don't know how to run a network ourselves. I think that getting some input from fans might be valuable because some of the customers are upset. It might be good to look into that and try to fix that so that people will be more pleased in the future. But the reality is, again, we're not the business experts here. The executives are. So if they brought some random guy on the internet who was upset about Camp Coral, or who was upset about how often Teen Titans Go is playing on Cartoon Network's schedule, and they let them do whatever then the president of Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, they called all the shots. They probably go bankrupt. They probably end up going bankrupt because if they just played marathons of all their favorite shows and just did everything that they have no business experience whatsoever, those networks would probably go bankrupt because they don't know how to run a network. So I think there can be some value in finding what the viewers think, but I don't think it's right for them to just do everything exactly as they think it should be, because that might actually be a detriment. And I also don't. I mentioned this in my Why Networks Grow Over Shows, but I don't really agree with the idea that every show on network should get exact equal treatment. I don't like the idea of a network giving every single show exact equal treatment. What does equal treatment mean? Does that mean that you're gonna play every single show the exact same amount of times? Every single show gets exactly number of time slots. You pay exactly the same attention to them, no matter how profitable or unsuccessful they are. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of like every single show gets exactly equal to me. Like, that sounds like communism, doesn't it? Like that sounds like communism. Every single network distributes equal attention to every single show they have. Like that sounds like communism. And I don't know if I'm a capitalist or socialist, but I'm definitely not a communist.
Okay. We have a question for TwistedDanns. What's your opinion regarding unsigned anime creators? Did you touch on this already?
Unsigned anime creators.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah. Please elaborate on what you mean, Moonchild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
But what do you have to?
I think that I kind of said everything that I wanted to. I mean, I guess we could a little more discussion about how much, what choices should an executive have over the show, or like the fact that compromises are inevitable and you just have to accept it. But we'd probably just keep talking in circles. So I think I've kind of said everything I want to. Clovis, do you have anything else you want to say on the matter?
I watched a clip of American Dad where Sergey showed up, and I thought that was funny.
That's cool.
But yeah, in terms of what you said, I don't really disagree, to be honest. I don't think that executives should listen to everything people say. But I also wouldn't discourage people from expressing what they want.
I also don't think it's good to have like this whole corporations are evil, like corporations are bad. 100% creativity, give them creative freedom, like absolute creative freedom, 100% creative freedom. Corporations are bad. Like I don't really agree with that either. I think that's just as bad as the whole like complete equal treatment thing, which I compare to communism. I think that's just as bad.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like most big companies are no saints, and I'm not even just talking about how they treat creators. I'm also just talking about what goes on behind the scenes and stuff. I actually once talked with a macroeconomics teacher, and he explained how when it comes to managing companies, morality isn't really like much of a concern. What's more of a concern is public image. So.
If they want to maintain their public image, they should probably not do things that they know will hurt the public image, like screwing over creators.
No. I don't like that. That's not really what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that I think that being skeptical towards companies like is important, because at the end of the day, I would say that most of them probably aren't saints. Like they're not like I guess it's funny because I was about to bring up like Disneyland, but like Disney is like the worst example of like a scummy company, so that's really funny.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Oh, and Clovis, I got some clarification about the question that was given to you. Moonchild was referring to your opinion on freelance anime creators.
Freelance.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this person is referring to whenever they don't get credit. Is that what they're saying?
Probably, or just independent. Yeah, with more freedom in their material.
I mean, I'm not sure, because I'm not like an expert on how things usually work when it comes to Japanese animation. I don't know. Wait, that's not it.
Oh, okay. Then, what exactly do you mean, then, Moonchild?
This is a very interesting question. I'm so tense right now. I really want to know what they mean.
Yeah.
So
but
we'll wait for him to type that out. Another thing I want to mention is that things like what happened to Siege Greenblatt, or what happened to Micah Wright. These are just the scummy business executive decisions that get leaked that we know about. There are probably incidents that happen, like the Siege Greenblatt incident, or the Micah Wright incident, that happened probably a lot more often. it probably happened like at least once every year in the cartoon community, but these are just the ones that we know of. There's probably even more that happen that are kept behind closed doors.
Yeah.
This is just the stuff that we know based on what gets out. Some stuff doesn't get out.
Yeah, and I think it's important to call them out whenever that stuff happens. I mean, Disney, for example, I can't really give examples of Disney being a bit of a scummy corporation, mostly because it's not very YouTube friendly topics to discuss. But
Right.
so I'm not really gonna bring them up. But basically, like, yeah, these kinds of things do happen, even in animation companies. So I think it's important for people to be wary about it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I do think it's good to be skeptical, but I also don't think it's. I don't think having a super anti-corporation, 100% creative freedom attitude. I don't think that's the way to go about it either.
Yeah, I can see why.
Try to find a middle ground.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes, but oh wait, I just got some clarification from Moonchild about the question that was given to you, Clovis. It means anime creators who are working for themselves and not a direct studio.
Oh, I mean, I have massive respect for them. I respect creators who don't really work for a studio and are self-published. So I think that's cool, and I hope that they're living the best lives that they can. Because I know not working for a big company can put a bit of a damper on the financial income. So
Exactly.
I hope at the very least they have some other job that they can rely on instead of the art they create. And as long as that's the case, I have nothing but respect for them. I have a lot of respect for people who don't rely on the on having like a studio tie-in, because those are the people who usually create whatever they want. So.
And they have to work from the ground up.
Yes.
And like I said before, like if you sell your show to a network, you lose the rights, but they give you the money in order to make it happen. But if you go completely independent, you have to build yourself in the web. You have to get all the funding yourself. You have to get all the help you need by yourself. So it takes a lot of work. So I guess the question is like, do you sacrifice a lot of time and resources to do it all yourself, but keep the rights, or do you lose the rights, but you get all the resources and funds that you need to make it happen? I guess that's kind of the question that creators should have if they decide whether or not they want to pitch a show to a network or streaming service or go independent.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what they want. I mean, if I'm like, for example, a couple of months ago, I guess even till this day, I want to write a book, and it doesn't really require that many resources for me to write a book, so I'm kind of fine. And for a lot of mangakas are probably in a similar position where they can kind of publish, since manga don't usually require that many resources in order to create it. When it comes to TV anime, this is where things become a lot more complicated. Though then again, since anime usually tends to be based on either light novels or manga, so it's a bit of an interesting area.
Yeah, and that reminds
me
of Clovis. The last time you were here, you talked about how a long time ago you tried to pitch an idea for a TV series. Was that right? And could you elaborate on that again?
There were okay. Oh God. So there's this one time I tried to pitch. At first it was a live action series, but then I transformed it to an animation series. It doesn't really matter because they both got rejected. And I mean, looking back, to be honest, I'm actually glad it got rejected, because a lot of the demand, I guess what I'm trying to say is that at the time I wasn't really, I was definitely not a good writer, and wasn't really someone that, because I submitted to Amazon. I don't remember the name of the site. It was Amazon something. I think it was Amazon Creator Studio. I don't know. I don't know if that thing still exists, but there was actually a time when Amazon was open to pitch Bibles that you could submit, and also a script if you wanted to. I tried to do that, I mean, neither the script nor the pitch Bible were good, so I'm not surprised that they rejected it. And looking back, I'm glad they rejected it because I mean those ideas were bad, so maybe I don't care that much. But if I was in a similar position and I wanted to pitch an idea that I liked, I don't think I would pitch it to Amazon. I'd rather keep it to myself.
I also believe an important part about pitching a show to a network is doing your research in advance. I also mentioned this in my Why Networks Grow for shows videos, but Joel Murray mentioned in his book Creating Anime Cartoons with a Character that you should do your research in advance about which network to pitch it to because networks target different demographics, even if they're all kids networks. So you should kind of be aware of what each network is targeting before you pitch it, because if your show doesn't fit in, then they might not accept it. So I believe that's an important part of pitching shows too.
Yeah, that is actually a very important thing to keep in mind. I mean, there are some creators who want to make a successful series. They want to make something that'll become like influential and stuff. And you know, if you're trying to achieve that, I definitely think that you should rely on networks.
And very few shows ever, and most pitches don't get picked up. Like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, they probably receive dozens or possibly even hundreds of pitches every year, but only a handful of them end up getting greenlit.
Yeah.
So it's a tough business to get in. So you really have to work to get yourself well known, and you have to face the fact that there's probably a 1 out of 100 chance that there's only about a 1 out of 100 chance that your show will get picked up. So you have to kind of face the reality if your show doesn't get picked up.
Exactly.
And you can try pitching somewhere else, but they may not accept it either, and you may not get in at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like studios like Nickelodeon, they have programs such as the artist program and the writers program, and not only
the Anime Shorts program.
Oh yeah, right. And not only do they only accept a certain amount of people, like a limited amount of people, but it's a very slim chance that the people in those programs will have their ideas fully fulfilled as a TV series. You could watch.
I still got my fingers crossed that I still got my fingers crossed that Nickelodeon that they're going to greenlight Planet Panic. I got my fingers crossed about that one.
Yes. Yes, because Planet Panic, based on what I saw the pilot, it's good and definitely deserves to be greenlit more so than Ren and Stimpy reboot, which thankfully they decided to cancel after the backlash.
Thank you.
Yes.
I guess that's an example of fan backlash working after all.
Yeah. Yeah. I
believe it probably doesn't most of the time, but I guess that's the case where it did.
Yeah, because I said this in your video before, in the comment section, Norbert, about how it's kind of a weird, kind of dumb business decision that Nick would, out of all their 90s Nicktoons, pick Ren and Stimpy to try and reboot, even though they pretty much tried to distance themselves from the show just 2 years ago after the creator was confirmed to be, like, he was totally canceled from the animation industry for stuff that we're obviously not going to get into detailed here.
And don't forget APC, Adult Party Cartoon.
Yeah, that too. Like, you see, with the 90s Nicktoons, obviously there's more noise about Hey Arnold getting season 6 than there is for Ren and Stimpy getting season 6 or another adult-oriented reboot. Yeah, I just had to mention that.
Oh, Moonchild just gave you another super chat. $1.99 Canadian dollars.
Thank you, Moonchild.
Honestly,
really good stuff.
Honestly, there are some shows that I would love to see come back. I mean, Mitch Shower actually has an idea for an Angry Beavers revival. But given what I said before about Nick not owning 100% of the rights to the Angry Beavers, that one might be a bit difficult. But I got my fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah.
By the way, Moonchild, I appreciate your donations, but donate in American dollars.
Well, DJ's Canadian, so
yeah.
DJ's Canadian, so it's okay.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm just kidding, of course.
Yeah, this year is taking place in the country of the big red and white flag with the beautiful maple leaf.
That's the country where I live too.
Yeah.
But actually, better yet, donate in euros. And I can't even say Portuguese euros because they're all the same euros. So you're at a bigger disadvantage. Not a disadvantage, advantage there. So yeah.
Yeah. And if you guys want to continue support me, I recently started a Ko-fi account, which is kind of like Patreon and PayPal.me, only more artist friendly. So you could donate there. The link is in the description. And I will appreciate that support. It helps my content going.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I believe I said everything that was on my mind. I don't think I have much left to say.
Okay.
Close to
Well,
you.
Nah, I don't have anything else to say
All
unless
right.
unless it's a completely different
well,
topic.
think
if you don't mind, probably I could look at some of the chat comments that I brought up. I mean, sorry, the
All
chat
Sure
right.
thing.
questions that were mentioned that we didn't address yet. Okay. Uh, okay. So Jasmine Green mentions about how Disney is better than Nickelodeon when it comes to your creation, and I think she's referring to how they're apparently better with creators' rights. Before they failed, now they're doing better.
I hope that's true. I can't really confirm.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, one thing I will say is that oh my god, broman. but sorry. Anyway, what I was gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say how Alex. Alex first seemed to have according to him, he seemed to have like a good.
Clovis, dude.
Oh, what happened?
Clovis.
Gravity Falls did.
Oh, what? I just heard you. Are you
Clovis.
okay, Clovis? Oh,
Kind of blinking out, Clovis.
yeah. I don't know if it's the connection on my side or what, or if it's connection on his side.
Hang on. I'm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. While you try to get Clovis connected back, Norbert, I want to mention one of Moonchild's older comments. uh, accent about Floyd Norman at Disney, and they say that he thinks that he was given the short end of the stick. Well, yeah, I have to agree because he's a veteran who was an in-between animator and a storyboard artist on several hit films from Disney, both the main animation studio, and Pixar as well. But he's under the category of underrated animation legends, and I'm happy that he is slowly getting more and more recognition. I don't know how familiar you are with him.
Hello, can anyone hear me
Oh,
now?
Oh yeah, I hear you now.
oh,
I hear you now.
excellent.
Thank
Yeah.
thank you.
So
What
what were you
happened?
saying before you got cut off?
I don't remember. I think I was saying something about Gravity Falls,
Yeah, you
something
were.
like that. I don't know. Okay, I was just gonna say
Oh, it
it
blinked
seems
out
to be
again.
fine with the way they handle Gravity. Oh God, no.
Oh, actually, you're okay now.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. So yeah, I think I've already made my point anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have a comment from a user named Noah saying how animated films almost never earn Frozen money, and by that he means like they break $1 billion at the box office. Although there are several examples that aren't Frozen, like the last two Toy Story movies and the the CGI Lion King, and also Minions as well. Oh, and Incredibles 2 as well. So yeah, honestly, I slightly have to disagree with Noah's comment in the chat here, uh, because I think the 2010s, since the 2010s, I mean, has been a real boom with animated films being a profitable medium in theaters. Well, what do you two have to say?
Don't they
I
usually
don't really
make?
pay attention to those Lion King. I don't pay attention to those live action Disney remakes. I don't really care for those.
Okay. That's okay. How about you, Clovis? You think that
Um,
ever since the 2010s, anime films have been much more popular, profitable than before?
I've always gotten the impression that animated movies always were profitable. I mean, we got stuff like Madagascar, the Shrek movies. I mean, they were pretty popular.
Yeah.
I'm not
Though
really sure where this
nowadays,
point is coming from.
yeah. Though nowadays
And
it's to the
honestly,
extent of
actually, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Because I mean, those films give millions of dollars in the box office. They
Yeah.
certainly more people are talking about the next Minions movie than the Owl House or It's Pony.
Yeah,
So
even
I mean,
even stuff that we don't really look back very fondly, like Shark Tale. Like I remember Shark Tale being pretty popular when it was released.
mm,
yeah,
yeah,
excellent.
yeah. I think those movies do. I think anime movies do tend to get more notoriety than animated shows on TV or on streaming services. So, maybe not streaming services, but definitely on TV.
Yeah, I mean, people kind of have this thing where it's the sort of like the higher production, so must be better. Even though I would argue that most TV animation is better than theatrically released animated movies, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I kind of share I swear we share the same opinion as you, Clovis. But it just depends on the product, not really like the form it's being released in, whether it's theaters or TV. I say it just depends on the product. Oh, I'm sorry, well, like I think you get what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the same way like how it doesn't really matter the medium anime product is done in, whether it's 2D, 3D, or stop motion, as long as
I'm actually one of the very few people in the cartoon community who disagrees that we need more 2D animated films in theaters.
yeah.
I'm actually pretty indifferent, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really bother me that much if we continue to see more 3D movies. I generally tend to have a bigger preference for 2D because I don't know. I
I
guess
mean,
that's the
most
one
shows
that
on
I'm the most
TV are
exposed.
2D.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
and most
That's
and
actually one of the reasons why I'm not really bothered by the amount of 3D. I mean, I feel like there's a lot you could potentially complain about theatrically released animated movies, but I don't think the fact that they're all CGI is one of the problems. You know.
Yeah.
do we need more stop motion films too? Should Leica come back
Oh,
and make us go to
yes.
Coraline?
I love stop motion.
Me too.
Coraline's a great movie, and that Coraline stop motion.
Yeah, it's pretty much my favorite stop motion thing ever. And I heard somewhere that
I'm
they're
Zara Lobner, who's been on your podcast, who's been on your live stream before, and she did Nick and 40 Me. Coraline is actually her favorite movie of all time.
great. She has great taste. And I heard somewhere that they might be making a sequel, although I haven't really delved deep into that sort of headline. I just saw it in sort of in an Instagram post.
I don't think Coraline. I don't think Coraline is. I don't think it needs a sequel.
Yeah.
I haven't watched
Some films
Coraline,
don't need
so
sequels.
Yeah. Oh,
Just like how some shows don't need reboots.
yeah. Oh, I see that my Grover Guys co-star Christian Frades joined the chat. Hey, how's it going, Christian? We just been talking about how animation companies sort of make some questionable this business decisions. So, do you have any questions regarding the topic? We've it in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Before he, until he answers, anything else you guys want to say?
Not really. I believe that I exhausted pretty much all my everything on my mind.
Yeah.
This was a really interesting discussion. I'm glad that I could discuss it with you guys.
Great. Well, I guess I could talk a little bit more about regarding how whether or not 2D animation would be popular again or not. Because I got this comment from my most recent video at the time that I'm recording this. If 2D animation would be starting a renaissance, with stuff like Klaus on Netflix, and Don Bluth is supposed to be returning to animation, to the animation as well, making some films.
Oh, Christian just said The Road to El Dorado and Trinda bombed. I've never
Yeah,
seen either of those films, but I've heard they're good.
yeah, they are good, especially Road to El Dorado, in my opinion. But
Thanks,
yeah, those
Moonchild. Thanks for saying fantastic.
yes, those two those two films that Kristen brought up, they were obviously during the time when CGI was becoming more popular. Stuff like the Pixar films and a certain green big guy who's a source of memes.
Oh, Shrek.
Yes, exactly.
I like Shrek.
Yeah, me too. It's my favorite DreamWorks movie. But yeah, uh, what Kristen brought up is yeah, it's kind of like what we've been kind of discussing about how 3D is has been the norm for a long time, and 2D is a dying out. But as I mentioned, it could be entering a renaissance.
I mean, I would like if that were to happen.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know how much money the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic movie made.
I
Can
think it
anyone?
bombed.
It bombed. Oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
What about the Teen Titans Go movie?
Well, it wasn't made with a very high budget. It made back its money worldwide, but it was kind of a bomb too.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
How long do you think it's gonna be? How long do you think it's gonna be until there's a 2D film in theaters that was not based off of a cartoon on TV?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hang on. I have a comment from Kristen saying that his pal, Richard Epcar, who's a voice actor, directed the Polish dub for Road to El Dorado. Oh, that's awesome. I wonder.
Interesting.
Oh, what was that?
I said that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Though, were you saying something, Clovis?
no, not really.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Norbert. There should be a more mainstream 2D animated films that aren't based on a TV show. That's something that has been on my mind. Like the second SpongeBob movie was a hit, and it's great. It made even more money than the first. But uh, excuse me. How about something more original, like what Disney used to do?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with 3D animation, you can kind of just recycle assets, and it's a lot easier. I mean, I'm not. The thing about 2D versus 3D is that with 3D, like a lot of the settings, the models that you create are a lot more easily reusable. While with 2D, there's a lot more effort put into drawing new frames and stuff. So unless
Unless it's puppet or flash animation like Teen Titans Go.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And so unless the unless the studios find some kind of a way to
Yeah.
I guess with Teen Titans Go, you did say that the budget didn't seem to be all that different, which is true. It didn't really
Yeah.
seem to be too different from the way the animated series. And to be honest, I am someone who doesn't really value too much high production. So Teen Titans Go to the movies might not necessarily be the best example because I don't think that it looked that good. But I think that the idea of making movies that have somewhere around the same level of production quality as the TV version is not something that would bother me that much, to be honest. I know it probably bother others since people do like seeing a lot of like really high production stuff when they go to theaters, which I can understand, but
Yeah.
I don't really mind not seeing that.
And we have another comment from Noah saying that how people tend to be less interested in animation currently because of the rise of live action for children and the stigma that animation is for children. Um, I assume that he is referring to like in the realm of Cedars, although I again, I kind of slightly have to disagree. Like, I think you're just referring to like family films in theaters nowadays, and again,
I
I
mean,
think
almost all family, almost all animated films in theaters are meant for a general audience. I
yeah,
mean, it's not very often that there's an animated film that's like meant for adults in the same vein that Family Guy or Family Guy or Rick and Morty are meant for adults. Like, except for Sausage Party.
right,
And that's another example of something where that's another example of the studio screwing over the crew,
yeah,
and that's what the whole live stream's been about.
hmm
Actually, you reminded me of something. I'm
what,
really mad
What?
at I'm really mad at both Fox and Seth MacFarlane for promising a Family Guy movie, which still hasn't been released, and I think I would have liked it a lot.
yeah,
Hmm.
oh,
It could have been silently canceled.
Yeah, it did get canceled, and
yeah,
I highly doubt it's gonna ever be made.
I
I
think,
Which is
mean, the Nicktoons
unfortunate.
movie that never happened either.
yeah, but I think the Bob's Burgers movie is still a thing. I haven't heard much about it. Have any of you?
No, not at all. I'm not even. Is the Miles Burgers movie even still happening?
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. I haven't heard anything about it in a while. Like, I think ever since.
I'm not really a fan of Bob's Burgers, so it doesn't really interest me. I've not been keeping up with the movie news.
Yeah,
So
I've never been that big into Bob's Burgers either. But okay, maybe Family Guy movie, whatever, maybe.
Yeah,
But you know what I would like? I would like an American Dad movie. I think I think that would be pretty cool. I think there's a lot of potential with character like Roger who can, because of the fact that he's an alien, there are endless possibilities with
yeah,
the C, and also the fact that Stan is a CIA agent. So I think
yeah,
there's a lot of potential for epic stories that you can make. That I think would be a pretty cool experience to see on theaters.
yeah. Okay, oh, we have a question from Kristen saying that did you know that there was a Flash animated Robo series, a web series starring some notable voice actors? Although I heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet, Kristen. But I don't think
no,
you
yeah,
two. Yeah, I have. You guys haven't seen it yet either, right?
never even heard of it.
Yeah.
No,
No,
Okay. Yeah. We have.
you guys remember? You guys remember Dead Meat?
Yes.
Dead Meat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Dead Meat
Uh,
is a Kickstarter project started by Maxwell Adams. It was this adult puppet show, dark comedy that he's been working on from 2013 until this year in 2020. He announced on his Kickstarter that he canceled it because of some like financial issues, like some sort of Actors Guild stuff. I can't remember the full details, but yeah, it's kind of sad that Dead Meat didn't become a thing.
Eh.
I actually predicted that it would be canceled. I didn't want it to be canceled, but I kind of like I had a suspicion that it would. Like, I mean, Dead Meat was announced in like 2013, and like 6 years pass, and not a lot of progress is made. I was like,
I'm not as big.
this
I'm not as big of a
is
Maxwell Adams fan as you guys are, so I don't really have any input.
Yeah, that's understandable. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think I'll read well two more comments from Noah mentioning about how someone once told him that cartoons tend to get ho hum to average ratings while the live action shows get explosive ratings. That's why Nick invests in live action while being careful. And also he
I think
says
another part of it is also that the live action is cheaper to make than animation. I mean, all you need is some actors in a set to make a live action show. But
yeah,
with animators, you also need animators, and animation is expensive to make. So of course they're gonna spend more money on what's cheaper and what's guaranteed to give views over something that's more expensive and might not catch on as well as SpongeBob.
yeah.
yeah,
Also, these are like sitcoms, and the really like classic multi-camera format sitcoms, which are generally pretty cheap audio quality, pretty cheap cinematography. So
Not all of them are like that though. I Am Frankie is actually really good. Um, people thought that show was gonna be like a rip off of Violence and Teenage Robot, but it wasn't. That show was actually really good. Jordan Hayes and I actually discussed about that show on his Nickel Spectre podcast in 2018. Check that out. Well, I've heard some good things about the astronauts. That show just came out.
Yeah. And okay, I think I'll read two more comments. Chris sends is aware that the Wobo web series is on YouTube and it's based on the DC Comics character of the same name. Okay, I'll check that out sometime. And I'll read another thing from Noah. He says that people don't realize that animation is difficult to invest in. I mean, even the old days, cell painting used to cost several thousands of dollars for a 90-minute film. And yeah, we did kind of touch about how animation is expensive, arguably more so than live action.
There's actually this interview with the creators of Aqua Teen Hunger, where they said that children tend to care more about the quality of the animation because they want like fast-paced action and poppy visuals and exciting stuff happening on screen, while adults care less about animation quality, which is one of the reasons why adult animated cartoons are usually don't have the best animation, because adults care more about the dialogue and stuff. So I thought that was an interesting fun fact.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that why Big Mouth and Brickleberry are so ugly?
Yeah.
And Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing to point out because of the fact that I mean, people who tend to dive into discussion of animation, there are always those people who kind of look down on and think that it's a pointless discussion since it's children media, who cares and stuff. And honestly, I probably wouldn't care if it wasn't for the fact that I have a lot of respect for animation as a medium, because of the amount of effort that's put into making them and stuff like that. And I think that's that's obviously art, like that's art in and of itself, that I do care about the quality of them. That's why I talk about it. So
all media is art.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, almost anything is art, to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is running a business art?
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe screwing over shows is just the art of running a business.
Yeah, it's true. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
So maybe the Nickelodeon executives, when they were screwing over Siege Greenblatt, and Micah Wright, they were trying to make some sort of artistic statement.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they were just trying to make money, but okay.
They were trying to screw Micah. They were trying to screw Micah Wright out of his salary.
Yeah, probably. And
poor Micah Wright.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I think it's about time that we wrap up this really sort of heated but kind of definitely controversial discussion we had here for an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, that was definitely very interesting. I'm glad I got to come on and talk about this with both of you, and both of you definitely had some interesting thoughts to share. Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to come on and talk about this. Yes. And you're welcome, by the way, for suggesting this topic for your stream, DJ.
You're welcome. Now, for both of you, before you leave, do you have anything to plug?
I mean, I'm on Twitter, @SNorbertD1. I don't use Instagram that often, but I'm @SNorbertD on Instagram. I don't upload on YouTube very often, but I do plan on. I've got a couple of videos that I'm kind of planning on, so stay tuned for December. I plan on making a top 10 best and worst hit songs of a 2020 list, so stay tuned for that.
Okay. And you're also doing a video on Defended the third season of Danny Phantom. You're still working on that, right?
Well, that's on the back burner. That I'm not sure if that'll ever come out. It probably will come out eventually, but that's kind of on the back burner. That'll probably come out in 2023. The Beavers and Bite This. I actually had this as a script for like an unfinished script for like 2 years before I finally decided to make that. So the Danny Phantom season 2 video might be similar, but I'll probably finish it someday.
Yeah. excuse me. How about you, Clovis? Anything you want to plug
Well,
before you leave?
um, my YouTube channel, because it's the only thing. It's the only platform I have that I have any ounce of respect, because I do not respect Twitter. But anyway, I recently have been playing Yakuza 7, and it's been pretty fun. And I also recently been making a ton of like this was before the game was released, but I made a ton of like Yakuza themed game videos that I thought were pretty fun. So I recommend that. Also, another thing I want to add, I don't know how much of you are aware, but this video exists because DJ made a video where he asked for suggestions, and then Norbert said, "Hey, it would be pretty interesting if we talked about the business side of animation." And I just replied by saying, "Let me in," and then I got in.
And you came in.
So yes,
Yes,
so that was the process of this stream coming to fruition. If
yes. And
that's all I wanted to say.
yeah, I'm thankful that you guys agreed to have this discussion, and you guys are really knowledgeable on the business side on animation. Well,
You're welcome.
I am to some extent, but not as much as with the creative side. So with you guys filling in on your opinions and what and your research and what facts that you have to share, yeah, it's enlightened me. I appreciate your knowledge, both of you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time for us to say goodbye. Say goodbye, Norbert.
Bye.
Yeah. Say goodbye, Clovis.
Hi,
It's not opposite day yet.
sorry, I meant bye. It's the
Okay.
same thing.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's already the next day in Portugal.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah. By the way, oh no, wait, hang on. No, 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 never mind. I was gonna make a joke, but it doesn't really apply because none of you can speak Portuguese. So never mind. Goodbye.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You
Yeah.
take care and stay safe, Clovis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feeling is mutual.
Okay. Bye. And to you too, Norbert. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Goodbye. Wow. What discussion that was. Yes. Goodbye, Christian. And goodbye to everybody else. Thank you for tuning in and for your insightful comments as well. And thank you to the super chatters as well. That really helps me. That really helps me out. And once again, thank you to Norbert and Clovis for taking their time to talk about the business side of cartoon studios. And and yeah, like what Clovis pointed out, this was a suggestion that Norbert and he agreed on, and I agreed on too. A really interesting one. So yeah, that's all for tonight. Uh, and tune in for the next live stream. What will the subject be? Hmm. I'll either have to do a poll or another update vlog video to let you guys decide. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Wait, I'm pretty much becoming a broken record because I already said that. But yeah, you guys take care and stay safe and, and happy rest of your day or evening or night.